Go behind the scenes with one of the most recognized faces in the Carolinas. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on the second annual Cat Ball coming up on February 7th, and we're visiting with Harry Pavilack, the president and founder of Save Our Cats International. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for getting in. It's so exciting to think last year about this same time we were getting together, getting ready. I think we were at the top floor of the Radisson Plaza Hotel, excited about the upcoming event. Of course, it was your first annual. Was that a pretty big success last year, Harry?
We thought it was. We had about 325 people that showed up for the Cat Ball, and everybody had a real good time. We really didn't know how many we would have. Some people said you won't have 100, but it really turned into a great success, and it was our big fundraiser of that year, and hopefully it'll be our big fundraiser for 2004.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're less than a week away down here. I mean, this is coming up on next Saturday. Incredible. Of course, it's so exciting to think today, Wednesday, January 28th, we're already this far along on the event, and to think the excitement as it gets close is dramatic.
Well, we have everything coming together, and a lot of people have given us some very expensive gifts, which will be in our silent auction.
Right.
And we have the place lined up, and we have the people lined up, and we want everybody, especially the women, to go out and get their new evening gowns, and we want the men to go get their formals. It is formal.
Right.
And we also have first prize this year in the Meow contest, which is for women only. That was a big success last year, and that is $300 to the winner.
$300 for the best meower in town?
That's right. The woman that can meow the best or the most like a cat that the judges really like will get $300 in cash.
That is. Now, Harry, this event is open for anyone from all over the area, southeastern North Carolina, the PD, all along the Strand. I know you said last year you had folks coming in from Marion and Florence and other areas.
It's open for everyone in a wide area, especially people that like cats, that support cats like I do and all of our members. We have over 300 members in Save Our Cats. And we're really fighting for cats and cats' rights. I mean, I know some people will say they don't like cats, I'm not coming, and some people only like dogs. But we have alerted the community, and actually, since we've been in business, a lot of these other organizations that were sort of dead, that also fight for animals' rights or do things for animals, I think we've inspired them, and they're also coming back to life because people call me and want me to go to their functions. Or be in their function, and it's really surprised me. Some at Pawleys Island, and other ones at North Myrtle Beach, and we've had people that wanted to start Save Our Cats, which would be a spinoff of our organization in North Carolina, and well, I think up at Ocean Isle Beach and places like that. So it's amazing that what has happened to us in the year and a half since we first started, and a year and a half of being in business.
That's part of the reason I was excited when you mentioned that some folks just may not like cats. They may not want to help out. Part of the thrill about getting you in to spend 20, 25 minutes this morning is to let folks learn about you, Harry Pavilack, the man, aside from just the cat lover, the excitement of really wrapping around and seeing this guy who's been on billboards for 20-some years, 30 years here in the area. I mean, you're probably the most recognized man in Horry County, but a lot of folks haven't spent time with you one-on-one, and if they got out there to the Cat Ball, they'd have the opportunity to do just that.
Yes, we try to meet everybody, greet everyone, and actually, like 20 or 30 years ago, I never figured I'd be sitting here talking about cats. I mean, if there were a million things you would make me guess what you'd be doing 30 years, it surely, wouldn't be cats. So, but I love cats. My wife loves cats. We have a few cats at our house, and so far since we've been in business, I think we have done a lot of things for cats in this area. The city of Myrtle Beach just passed a feral cat law where we can pick up cats in commercial areas and put them back where they were. And before, we weren't sure if that was legal or not. In fact, I think it was illegal, but the law was just passed last week. So they are recognizing us. The vote was 5-0. We're also trying to get a feral cat law passed in Conway with the county council, and we're working on that now. By that, you can pick up feral cats. Those are cats that are running around wild or in the outdoors that really supposedly don't belong to anybody, and we spend all our money and we'll trap those cats. We take them to the vet, we fix them, and then we put them back where they were. Or maybe some people in the area were feeding them, things like that, and they want those cats fixed because naturally they could multiply and have 6 or 7 cats every 3 months. And the numbers could, so what we do, really, we minimize the number of cats that supposedly will be born in the future. And this plan has worked, and they had a test at Stanford University, a big test where they had a big colony of cats, and they were fixing all the cats, and they were fixing the cats, and they were just watching those numbers, and eventually, after a few years, the number of cats starting to decrease, because supposedly we have 70 million cats in the United States. So
70 million?
70 million.
You're kidding.
And I know when we first went into business about a year ago, we were on a radio station, and one of the announcers said, well, you know, I don't know if I want to give you money or not because you're going to be short-lived. I said, why? He said, well, when you fix all these cats, there will be nothing else to do, and I figure you'll be out of business. But I wish that was true, but with 70 million cats out there, and I don't know how many in Rotary County, but there are a lot of them. And we spend most of our money that we get, most of the money that we make at our different functions. This will be, I think, our 5th function.
Right.
We had 4 last year. The Internal Revenue wanted us to have 4 functions during the year before they would give us a charitable designation. So we had 4 different functions. I think you knew about all of them. You were at most of them. And this would be our 5th function. But all the money that we make, generally we spend on vets. And we have vets all over the county, some of them in Tabor City, some of them in Loris, Conway. And every month we get bills, and we send out the money. We pay those bills on all these different cats that we're fixing. So we're not just a Myrtle Beach organization. We really work a wide area. We work the whole county. People will call us. They'll say, I have a colony of cats in Conway of 20 cats, say. And we'll put our people together. All of our people are volunteers. None of them get paid.
Is that right?
And that's what's hard about it. And I really feel sorry for a lot of these charitable organizations because I know how hard it is to raise money. I know how hard it is to get people to work. And really, I give them all a lot of credit for charitable organizations, especially you can put on affairs and things like that. And frankly, I don't know how we've done it and had 5 social functions with all the work it takes. And
it's going to be a big cat ball this year, Harry. It's so exciting, as you say. And I've seen you at so many charitable events, not only the Heart Balls year after year after year, but obviously events like the Walk Americas or the Walks, the March of Dimes, Chef's Auction. Of course, you and Mary Jane are at so many. If a viewer in the PD or southeastern North Carolina wanted to learn a little bit more about Save Our Cats, what would be the best number for them to call, Harry?
Best number to call, I guess, would be our 1-800-868-9471. That would be toll-free 800 and extension 120. Okay. Or our local number would be 843-448-9471. Okay. And actually, we have experts on staff. One of them is Karen Barber.
Right.
She's been into cats for years. And any question that you have about cats, she can answer.
Let's get a little bit to you. Did you grow up here in the on the Strand or in South Carolina, Harry?
Well, originally I was born in Pittsburgh, PA, and then we moved to, well, my father's family was from Wheeling, West Virginia, so we moved there. I lived there until I was 10, and then we moved back to Pittsburgh, and I was in Pittsburgh. I grew up there and went to high school in Pittsburgh, and then when I was 17, I finished high school. I played football, and I was recruited to Clemson. I had a full football scholarship to Clemson where I played football for 4 years, and I played baseball at Clemson.
Is that right? Now, I thought you were a recognized tennis player, Harry. I didn't know you were big in football and baseball. Aren't you like the man on the tennis scene here in the area?
I don't know if I'm the man. In fact, we were trying to look up my ranking before we came into this meeting, but they didn't come out yet for last year. But I started playing tennis later in life, and I don't know, everything I do I like to really try to do as good as I can do it, you know. So I take a lot of lessons. I play with pros every day and things like that. Usually I have a lesson every day if I'm here 7 days a week.
Is that right?
And I play with pros trying to improve my game, and then I play state tournaments against, you know, real good competition, and that's how you get your rankings depending on how well you do in the tournaments, and it all goes on a computer.
Right.
And those rankings are due out any day for last year, but I'm not going to be first or second, I know that, but hopefully I'll be around 8th or 7th.
You were second at one time in the U.S. Tennis Association for the senior tennis division, isn't that right?
One year I was tied for second, right, a few years ago, and then when the rankings came out, but I don't know, maybe that was just luck.
And one of your classmates at Clemson, I think, of course, aside from Dan Gray, Walter Cox, another guy is Bill Darby. Did you ever play tennis against Bill? I understand he was a formidable tennis player at one point.
Bill, I played tennis with Bill in Myrtle Beach down here when he used to play, but he hasn't played lately. But he was a real good player.
Was he? Yeah.
Real good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been attracted to places where there are good athletes. You know, just like anything else, you want to get a real true test.
Mm-hmm.
You hate to go out and just hit the ball back and forth.
Oh,
Want to, and that was the same way in baseball, football. I know when I was younger, we traveled a long way as soon as we could drive in Pittsburgh because we played semi-pro baseball. I had a few guys because we were looking for the best coach in the area, and there was a black coach over there that we knew that played AAA baseball. So we traveled about an hour each way every day, and we played on his team, and he taught us some things that nobody could do, just like wear sliding pads and sliding practice. I mean, nobody's ever taught me how to slide in baseball, football. In fact, I've been trying to get somebody to teach me how to slide in tennis down here for years, and I can't do it. Some of these pros can slide, but they won't teach me. I guess they don't want me to beat them.
Harry, that's hilarious. Do you remember your first day on the field at Clemson when you were down there?
First day on the field at Clemson, right. I didn't like it too much. We went there in August. I was only 17. I had lived in Pittsburgh at the time, which was a real big city, and went to Clemson, and it was really desolate. The only people were there were the football players, and they had us practicing twice a day. We'd have to be on the field at 6 a.m., and then we would have another practice in the afternoon about 2:30. And that was in August when I left high school. In fact, and at that time they didn't believe about giving you drinks too much. You know, in fact, a lot of these big linemen in the mornings, I remember, you know how you remember certain things, but they would try to scoop the dew off of the grass.
Oh, come on.
When we got out there and drink that, you know, and put it in their mouth, because they didn't believe on really giving you drinks until after practice was over, and each practice would take about 2 hours. But it was really hard to get used to. In fact, I sent all my clothes home twice when I was at Clemson, and then the next day, you know, the only thing I had to wear were the one outfit that I kept. And then all of a sudden the next day, everybody was real nice and all that, pat me on the back. I didn't know the train conductor, the guy who ran the train station, was Coach Howard's right-hand man. So the head coach. So every time I'd go to the train station, he would call him. Say, Pavilack, sending the stuff home again, you know. So it just took a while to get adjusted. I was 17, and after school started, you know, I started, you know, getting a little better adjusted, and then after a while, I really liked it.
In your position there on the football team at Clemson?
I went to Clemson from high school. I had made all-city quarterback in Pittsburgh, and all the players that made all-city generally got recruited for somewhere, Miami or Pitt or something.
Sure.
And I went as a quarterback, but I don't know what happened. The freshman coach here, one day we had a scrimmage, and naturally they take movies of everything, and we had a play going where I had the team running one way and I was running the other way, and he said, Pavilack, that's your last play as quarterback, you know, because we don't have a play like that. So he switched me to halfback from then on, and I played halfback, defensive halfback. I returned punts, and sometimes I played flanker back, things like that.
When you watch a game now, like let's say the Panthers when they played, and of course the Super Bowl's coming up, when you watch a game, you see the quarterback or the halfback, what are you thinking when a game's going on? Are you pretty detailed? Do you look for everything, or you just enjoy yourself?
I'm looking for real good plays, you know, just like the Carolina game last week. Number 20, I'm trying to think of his name, the running back for Carolina, when he scored that touchdown from the 1-yard line, it was the best 1-yard run I've ever seen. Really? One player missed him. Then he ran over number 32. Then he ran over number 52, number 53, and number 54, which were all three Philadelphia linebackers to make 1 yard for a touchdown. I think it was the most astounding run I've ever seen for 1 yard. In fact, he ran backwards 5 yards to start with. I don't know if you remember the play, and I think that made the score 13-3.
That's amazing, Harry. That's amazing. Now, you later went on, of course, to obviously had to attend law school. Where'd you go to law school?
I went to law school at the University of South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you move to the beach?
I moved to the beach. Well, then I went to Miami, University of Miami, for a year after law school. I was studying some courses down there and some taxes, securities, things like that. And then I moved to the beach after that and came to Myrtle Beach.
I hate to date you there, Harry, but that's a few years ago. I know since you were in school with Bill Darby, I mean, you must be in your at least in your 50s, or 60s. I won't get into that, but the excitement there is you've been able to maintain a practice here in Myrtle Beach for a heck of a long time.
I've been here practicing law for a while, and when I started, there weren't too many lawyers here, but there were a few, and some of them are still here, and some of them quit practicing or died. But it's been a long tenure, but I try to keep busy, and I've always been in a lot of different things, and I just try to keep occupied. Like right now, I try to do different things, maybe go into a different business here and there, and keep myself occupied. I think the best thing you can do is to keep yourself occupied, work hard, and keep your mind working. Like a lot of people say, well, why don't you retire now? But I mean, what am I going to do? Sit there in a chair, and watch TV all day? I mean,
yeah,
I'd
sure.
probably drop dead then immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you're thinking, your mind's working. And
Harry, I think I've seen you at times where you have a mobile phone in each hand, another phone in front of you. You are slammed, going crazy all the time. How do you do it?
I have 4 mobiles. I have 4 mobiles, and I have a private direct line in our main line. So generally, on my desk, I have 6 phones working that I could use all at once if I had to, or sometimes I'll bring somebody in and have them dial numbers, Like right now, I'm trying to call a lot of people for the cat ball and spend a lot of time on that.
Sure.
Hours and hours and hours. So with 4 phones, I can bring people in. I give them numbers, and I say, start dialing these numbers. Some people are home, some people aren't home, and then other people were calling trying to get donations and things like that to put in our auction. But all of that keeps you busy. Plus, then you have a lot of other people coming in and ask you questions all day. There are always emergencies. I don't care what business you're in, but it seems like there are more and more emergencies now than there used to be 20 years ago, and there we were on a real slower pace,
Right. Harry, am I correct that you started, you've got your face on billboards everywhere. You've got to be the most recognized guy in the state, if not more than the governor. It's amazing. Harry Pavilack, no one, Pavilack Associates or attorney at law, it's just incredible. When did you start advertising your legal practice? That must have been pretty novel when you first started doing that.
Well, actually, advertising was passed in 1977.
Right.
They had a case in Arizona, and the Supreme Court said that it was all in free speech, and you could advertise, but it didn't say what advertising you can do, and all that's sort of been refined coming down through the years. It just can't be misleading or something like that. A lot of people say, well, what's misleading? So advertising has really changed some, but it's still only been in existence about a little over 25 years. And I don't know, it just hit me. It'd be good to advertise, try it out. So I remember when James Robbins came with me, who does a lot of bankruptcy now, I told James, I said, I'll give you a job, you'll start advertising. So I think the day after that law passed, James Robbins had an ad in the paper,
Right.
And we've been doing different types of advertising, magazines, TV, newspaper, just different things, that might attract people. And
sure. Well, I've seen that 800 number posted many times, Harry. You attract a lot of folks from the PD or all over.
Well, sometimes, you just don't know where they get your number, but we have had people that called from California, and I said, well, where'd you get our number? He said, well, I was on vacation in Myrtle Beach, and something happened, and I just saw a billboard, so I wrote your number down before I left town, and then they called back when they got to California. Naturally, I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but it'd be nice if advertising really worked that way. But I figure if people see the sign and the message, because you never know when you're going to need a lawyer. Just like things that baffle me, like these cab telephone numbers, in different cities, like 7-1s, You see 7-1s, how can you forget it? Or 7-4s or 7-2s,
Right.
I say, I need a cab. Well, you just start down all the same number. You're going to get a cab. So naturally, I think people are educated and they get numbers or names in their head. Then if something happens down the road, then hopefully they'll call you. I guess that's the way advertising's supposed to work. Because a lot of times if I run an ad today, I mean, I know people might see it, but they're not going to call me because they don't really need what you're advertising.
For a while, that's exactly
For a while.
right. What about that aspect of being so recognized, Harry, having that face everywhere? Had you ever thought about running for office, let's say, to really represent others? You do such an amazing job now representing cats. Have you thought about representing people?
I thought about it, and I dabbled in politics several years ago, but I have some advisors here, and I'm just waiting to tell me give me the go-ahead.
For the right time.
Right, the right time. Maybe I'll run again. I'm not saying I wouldn't run again, but naturally, if you have to go to Columbia, that takes a lot of time, or if you run for a county office or a city office or something. I don't think I'd want to run for any, real thing that covered a real wide area because you would never be here too much or something like that. And then the next question is, can you win? You know as much about politics.
No, not at all. Yeah,
Is
John
anyone-
Bonsignor sure knows a lot.
John
fortunately.
Bonsignor is one of my advisors.
Right.
He's been in politics his whole life. He was on the National Republican Committee in Washington, D.C. So if he tells me to do something with his experience, I would probably do it.
Who inspires Harry Pavilack?
I do a lot of different reading and things like that. All of a sudden lately I've been interested in China, and I get a lot of newspapers sent to the house. I get Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Barron's, and Myrtle Beach Sun News, and I'm trying to read everything I can on China and places like that. But things like that inspire me to see how their economy is so much different than ours. Like their minimum wage is $56 a month, and they work 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, and why they're taking all of our manufacturing jobs. I'm really thinking 10 years, truthfully, all of our manufacturing jobs will be gone in this country.
Come on.
And that's something we have to recognize and we have to prepare for. And I think every person and every business has to really look at these wide horizons on things that are happening around the world. The world's getting closer. I know one big company in this country that brings in $13 billion a year from China in goods. They were buying clocks for $7, I read an article, and they told the company, we're not paying $7. We'll pay $4. So the company hired more workers, more farm workers. This was in the Wall Street Journal. And they brought in a lot more farm workers, and they're working them at $32 a month, 18 hours a day. So you have to keep up with things like that. You have to study the world economy. Now, I don't care what business you're in, because we have a lot of cities in North Carolina and South Carolina. They lost all their plants. People are out of work. So I don't know if that inspires me, but I like to keep up with world events and find out what's happening.
People there, Harry, a college professor or a football coach early in life, or your parents. Anyone around there that's been a real inspiration. I think I saw you at age 5 were selling newspapers early on. Was that your first childhood job?
That was my first job. My mother didn't know about it. I had somebody, when we lived in Wheeling, West Virginia, these other people were getting papers from the man, and I went and got some papers, and I remember I stood on the corner there in front of the post office. The only problem was I couldn't read. So I'd have to get somebody to tell me the headline, and I can remember standing there at 5. I'd say, read all about it, once I knew what the headline was, and then I was selling papers. I put all the money in my pocket. Then one day I went home. I lost all my money. You know how your money falls out, your paper money. So the man came to my house looking for me. And my mother really yelled at him for giving me those papers. See, she didn't know I was selling papers. But I had various little jobs, around in grade school, things like that. But nothing really exciting, though.
Right.
My parents really didn't have a business for me to go into or anything like TV station or something like that.
Oh, God, listen to that. I got to wrap with that, Harry.
So that's one reason I went to law school. I said, I really didn't want to get a job working for somebody else or a big company. So then I just said, I'll try law school and let's see what happens.
And speaking of that aspect of going to law school, if you weren't Harry Pavilack, attorney at law, recognized throughout the area, what do you think you'd be doing?
Probably putting deals together. People that have inspired me over the years are some of these big developers and things like that, and people I've been in partners with in different transactions. And the law helped me, and I love the law, and I still work at the law. And we have 11 lawyers. We work real hard every day. But getting big, not big, but just transactions, going to the courthouse, this and that, different things, buying things and then reselling them. It's really business relationships. I think that's what I'd probably be doing right now. Hopefully I'd be successful. If I wasn't, then go back to work.
He'd be working hard, a consummate deal maker. Harry Pavilack, a great love of cats, a love of China, the recognition that early on he couldn't always take a lead from a coach, but he would take the lead on the field, he'd take the lead on the tennis court, and he'd take the lead providing an avenue for folks to get out and support something they really love, whether it's cats or the law. Harry Pavilack, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. The event's the second annual Cat Ball. The place is the Dunes Club. The date, next Saturday, February 7th from 7 to midnight. Call 843-448-9471, extension 120 to learn more. The guy's Harry Pavilack. You can get out there and meet him that night.